The Inspector General, I think, estimates, I think the number was $100 million left on the table from 40B projects that are owed to communities right now.
By and large, for the IG, and I heard him say this, to say this is the biggest swindle, he didn't know the Madoff thing was coming up, but the biggest swindle in Massachusetts is witch hunting to really come after developers. There'll be some cases of people that did things, we know that. You know, we've seen some of the 10 reports that he's had.
Those were 10 projects DHCD picked themselves for him to audit, and he found flaws and extreme irregularities, financial irregularities in 10 of them.
Now towns are spending money on lawyers thinking they're going to collect these $1 million, and they're not. As far as I can tell, they're not entitled to them. If they end up collecting something, hopefully it'll be more than what they paid their lawyers to get it, because I think there's a lot of hyperbole about this whole stuff.
The real problem lies with excess profits either being hidden by the developer or the lack of a real auditing standard to discover what those hidden profits are and exposing them and getting that money back to the town.
Well, there is a development in my town that Chatham audited and found a few minor defects in it, and the Inspector General got a hold of it and said there was just about outright fraud on it, that there were invoices from another project were being folded into it.
What I've heard is, while they're working on a 40B project, they may have another development going on. And they'll ask that contractor to take the cost from another development and put it on the 40B. So it looks as though it cost you $60,000 to frame the building when it really only cost you $30,000.
You know, someone will work to assemble a piece of land using 40B to get a project permitted, and then simply will sell the project, and you'll see a series of flips occur driving up the cost of that land.
Units were just being sold off at the wrong price to holders of the corporation, and they found several $1 million after Chapa had pretty much said there were some minor violations to it. So they're not an auditing agency, and they were auditing, and they basically have dropped the ball on it.
Chapa announced a year ago they're no longer doing audits, so I don't even know who's doing audits. I don't know who's going to do the audit for North Point. I don't even know if they got an audit. I don't even know if it's a real audit. I know this much. I've never seen an audit. The project's been there for 4 years.
Don't worry, Joe. Our numbers are straight. We're limiting our profit to the 20% just in accordance with the law. I don't want to hear Chapa's numbers. I don't want to hear any private source. I want to hear the government. I want to hear Mass Housing's report every year on 40B profit levels.
If you feel strongly about something, you have no right to sit back and criticize the process unless you participate in it and stand up for it. I should be able to participate in a process that might change that scope of this neighborhood for me. I'm just concerned about the developer's financial stability with the amount of foreclosures that are on the books right now and the instruments of taking for properties of non-payment of taxes in Easton, how this project would even be able to secure financing. So when my neighbor gets up and asks a question, and it's not a question that the developer wants to hear, this particular neighbor was threatened by a developer. And when I saw that, I stood up for him, and that particular incident made the papers. I was really surprised at some of the comments that I heard from people that thought that we were intimidating the developers.
Because I've been looking at an empty lot that used to have goats and a lady that lived in a house, and now I'm going to have 28 neighbors with 56 cars pulling out of a driveway in front of my driveway, and it has me concerned. I think the density is what everybody in this room is bothered by. The density. It's just too much.
If a house lot sells for $250,000 And then we want to build a 1,000 square foot house or a 700 square foot house on top of that, and it's going to cost us $150,000 to build it. We're now in it for $400,000. We had a tough time selling them in the $240,000, $270,000 range. In order for us to do that with a $150,000 housing cost, we got to get our land cost down to around $10,000 or $15,000, $20,000 a unit in the raw, and maybe $30,000, $40,000 finished unit. Density is what does that.
This is much contrary to the density that we have ever accepted in the past.
If you're increasing population, the land doesn't get any bigger, you're going to have to increase density. As America urbanizes, and it may seem like a funny thing to hear for people to hear, but America is urbanizing. America is moving to the coasts, America is moving to the cities. The world is urbanizing. This is a change in how human beings live.